Students, welcome to another lesson video of Fundamentals of Chemistry. This is lesson 6, and in this lesson we are going to look at the SLOs 1.2.7 and 1.2.8. In the first SLO we are going to look at molecular mass and formula mass of the substances, and the second SLO we are going to classify species into elements, mixtures, compounds, ions, molecular ions and free radicals. So let's start. We have molecular mass. What is molecular mass? Molecular mass, as you have learned in previous classes as well, that is the sum of all the elements that make up the molecule. So all those molecules, all those elements that make up a molecule, when you add the atomic masses of all the atoms, you have the molecular mass. Okay, so it's simple. Let's look at the example. Before that, you should know that we have to learn 20 elements by heart, their atomic numbers and their masses. Okay, so once you have learned all these masses, then you will be able to find out the molecular masses by yourself. Remember that atomic masses will not be provided in the exams. So let's look at how we calculate molecular mass. Let's suppose we have C6H12O6, which is also called glucose, and we have to find out the molecular mass of glucose. Before calculating the molecular mass, we should know that in glucose we have 6 carbons, we have 12 hydrogens and we have 6 oxygens. Now we are going to construct the equation according to the number of the atoms we have. We have 6 carbons, we are going to add that to 12 hydrogens, and we have 6 oxygens. We are going to add them all together, and then we are going to put the masses. For carbon it's 12, for hydrogen it is 1, for oxygen it is 16. We are going to multiply first, and then after that we'll add up all these atoms, all these masses, and after adding up we get 180 grams. So 180 grams is the molecular mass or gram molecular mass of glucose. Let's look at what is formula mass. Formula mass is same as molecular mass. It is sum of all the atomic masses of the atoms present in a formula unit. The only difference is formula unit over here. Over there we talked about molecules. Over here we talk about formula unit. Formula unit is used for ionic compounds. What are ionic compounds? Ionic compounds are those which are made up of ions. Okay, so all those compounds which have ions in them, they are called ionic compounds. What is formula unit? Basically, we know that ionic compounds have many ions clustered together like this. Okay, this arrangement of ions is called crystal lattice. So ions are arranged in order. This order of arrangement of the ions is called crystal lattice. Okay, and the smallest unit of the crystal lattice is called unit cell, and that unit cell is also called formula unit. Okay, we can consider this crystal lattice, we can compare it to a home made of bricks. You know that all the bricks are clustered just like the ions in the crystal lattice, and the small brick is actually the unit. Okay, so the smallest unit of your ionic compound or your crystal lattice is called unit cell, and that unit cell is called the formula unit. Okay, so when we have a formula unit, then we have if you find the mass of that formula unit, that is crystal lattice. When we have the mass of formula unit, we actually have the formula mass. Okay, जब भी हम formula unit का mass निकालते हैं, that mass is called formula mass. How do we identify ionic compounds? हम अपनी this is just for your information how we identify ionic compounds, because ionic compounds is a big topic and we are going to cover that up in a new chapter we are going to learn later on. But for the time being, we have to learn what are ionic compounds and how can we identify ionic compounds. The ionic compounds are actually made of ionic ions, and those ions are of two types. One is a positive ion and the other one is a negative ion. Okay, so let's look at an example. We have NaCl, and NaCl has two ions, Na and Cl. So what is Na? Na is actually sodium. Okay, sodium is what? Sodium is a metal, and chlorine or chloride, we have the second ion, and we know that it is a non-metal. Okay, so whenever you have a metal and a non-metal bonding together, okay, that is an ionic compound. So whenever you have a metal and a non-metal together, you have an ionic compound. So that is how you are going to identify ionic compounds. How to calculate formula mass? हम formula mass कैसे calculate करते हैं? Just like molecular mass, जैसे हमने molecular mass find out किया था, वैसे हम formula mass find out करते हैं. The only difference is molecular mass is for the molecules and formula mass is for the formula unit of the ionic compounds. So how do we find out formula mass? Let's look at one example. This is an ionic compound NH4,2SO4 called ammonium sulfate, and we know that in this we have how many nitrogens? We have 2 nitrogens. How many hydrogens? 8. Sulfurs are 1, and oxygen is the number of oxygens are 4. Okay, so just like we had an equation in molecular mass, just like that we are going to make an equation in formula mass as well. According to the number of atoms we have 2 nitrogens added with 8 hydrogens, 1 sulfur and 4 oxygens. Okay, we are going to put the masses after that. Nitrogen is 14, hydrogen is 1, sulfur's mass is 32 and oxygen mass is 16. Once we add them together and we solve it, we have 132 grams for ammonium sulfate. So this is your task. You have to calculate the molecular masses of the following. These are some molecules that you have to find out the molecular masses of, and your second task is to find out the formula masses of the following ionic compounds. So these are some ionic compounds, इनका formula mass find out करना है और इससे पहले वाले का molecular mass find out. And our next SLO is how to identify elements, ions, molecules, compounds and radicals. So we have some markers, identification markers for these substances. For example, for element, when we talk about element is the simplest compound. So whenever you see a symbol of an element, that is an element. Okay, we have ions, and how many types of ions do we have? We have 2 types of ions, atomic ion and molecular ion. Atomic ion can be identified by an atom with a charge. कोई भी atom है उसके ऊपर charge है, that is atomic ion. Molecular ion can be identified by different atoms. कुछ different atoms आपस में bonded हैं, उनके ऊपर charge है, that is molecular ion. What is the identification of molecule? Molecule is made up of same atoms. What is the identification of a compound? Compound is made up of different atoms. So whenever you see different atoms together, that is compound. What is radical? Radical is actually a very reactive species. Whenever you have odd number of electrons in any atom or a molecule, so radical का simplest identification marker क्या है? There will be a dark knot. एक dot लगा हुआ होगा atom के ऊपर या molecule के ऊपर. Let's look at the task. We have all these substances and we have to identify them as molecules, elements, compounds, radicals. Okay, so these are your substances. For example, in this case, as I said, एक dark knot लगा होगा, so the dot will be like that. This is actually the symbol of a radical. So you can identify with the help of this knot that this is a radical. If you have a charge, for example in this case, that is an ion. But what type of ion is this? You have to tell. This is a molecule because there are same atoms. Okay, so Cl2 means दो Cl आपस में जुड़े हुए हैं, आपस में bonded है. So Cl2 is actually a molecule. So you have to identify them as elements, ion, molecules, compounds and radicals. कुछ इनमें से मैंने आपको बता दिया है. Your task is to copy down all the points shown in the lesson into your exercise books, and you have to solve the given problems. Hope you understood the lesson well. If you have any problem, you can ask me in the comment box. Thank you so much.